This is one of the most important videos for you to watch and do on the Singer SE9180. Hi, I'm Sarah from SewingMastery.com. But cleaning your machine is going to be so crucial for things to not go wrong. Now, I know there's a lot of people that have said, oh, this machine doesn't work and I break needles and my thread breaks, and all it comes down to is a couple things that can make your life super easy. So this one we're going to focus on cleaning out the lint underneath the throat plate. And we're also going to talk about having your machine serviced on an annual basis. Trust me, it is so worth it. You have spent good money on this machine and the embroidery unit. So having both of those tuned up, just like you would for a car, is going to be key. Now, since our world of sewing consists of fabrics and battings and linty fabrics like fleece and flannels. Even sometimes the thread we choose is cotton, and sometimes you notice that there's a lot of that fluffy color from that thread up and around the needle. So can you only imagine what kind of settles down below this throat plate, down where the feed dogs are? So I recommend that what I'm about to show you is something that you do every 3 to 5 bobbins. Now, if you're finding that you are having some hiccups with thread breaking or threads just not being where they should be, you will find that a quick little pause during your sewing project to go down below, clean out, put everything back in will make a ton of difference. We'll also talk about the key for having a fresh needle also put in at the end, and you do need to check into which needle is proper for the fabric you're sewing on. So just because you have a needle doesn't mean it's the right needle. So sometimes we need a bigger needle if you're using some thicker thread. Sometimes we need different kinds of needles based on the fabric or how many layers you're going through, and also size matters too. So those are things that as we go through all of our video tutorials that we talk about, but keep in mind going back through our complete playlist of the Singer series that we have made will help you understand little by little the key to having a successful sewing experience, no matter which machine you actually sit down on. Now, usually in your manual, you'll notice it's going to tell you to turn off the machine, and that's just for safety reasons. But I am a fan of the light, so I am going to leave it plugged in. If you're worried, you can unplug the foot control. You'll notice I don't have my foot control plugged in right this second, so at least I'm not going to step on it accidentally. You could also take the needle out right at the beginning just so you don't stab yourself. So let's get started. I'll show you what you need. You have a brush that came with your machine. You can use that. I'll explain some other uses of different brush types. And this little kind of round piece is in your accessory bag that came with this machine, and it's the one that's going to easily loosen and help us get the 2 screws out from this throat plate. Now, I know sometimes people talk about, oh, I've just cleaned it, but then when they actually go back down in here and take this all apart, it's amazing how much lint we get from different types of fabrics. So one thing you could do is you could go ahead and take out the needle. You could also slide the presser foot off. Remember, bringing it straight to you. Don't ever push down on this. You'll kind of notice that the little mouth that this little bar sits on, it's an in and out, a straight in and a straight out. Push in, snaps on, and that way we're not pushing down and kind of breaking that lip away from where it needs to actually be. So this is the first time that I've done the screws, so they usually are a little bit tighter. So if they are a little stiff when you get started, just go ahead. You don't have to tighten them all the way. I mean, you need to tighten them, but you don't have to crank them down when we go to put these back in when we're done. Next, I realized it's easiest if you take off this front part of the machine. So go ahead and expose the free arm, because we almost need to slide this piece all the way towards us, and it kind of is going to come out at an angle. So you're noticing that there are actually 2 separate pieces. First, this gray piece that goes around the side and front, and then the metal plate. So as you kind of pull from the back part right here, it's going to come towards you, but if they come apart, that's okay. But you can kind of see that they're all one piece in here. here. Now I'm going to show you the trick for getting this back in here, but let me first explain what we're going for and looking for down in the bobbin area. So first off, this whole piece, this kind of black basket, you can lift up and out. Now this is the bobbin case. This is the part that actually has the tension groove that you go in when you put your bobbin in, and it spins this way and you click it in. And it's actually kind of hidden because you're following this little picture here, but you're sliding your thread underneath. Well, it's actually going into the tension area of the bobbin case. You just don't usually have to like adjust the tension, it's just what it is. But when you do have your machine serviced, this is something that they realign and like perfect the tension as they go in. I mean, look at all these parts, kind of crazy, right? And get in here. Now, the other thing that we want to do is make sure we're using a brush. Now, some of you have used canned air in the past. That is not for sewing machines. Canned air is going to blow more in than actually comes out. So I need you to always bring it out. Don't ever push it further in. So I can even already see that even with my little bit of sewing that I'm doing, I've got lint in this kind of basket area here. You can also go in, make sure this is all cleaned up, but you could also use a Q-tip or a makeup brush or anything like a vacuum attachment that's like for small crevice areas. Those are excellent for sewing machines, by the way. You can just suck it all out. It works great. So go ahead and clean this all back. Now, here is something just to look at. For any reason you are getting needles that have been breaking, you come in here and look. You can also see, just make sure all these edges are smooth. I sometimes have had people who have had troubles and it's like the thread is catching. Well, if they've gotten a needle strike or something really bad happened and there's a hole or a rough spot anywhere along this edge, that's going to catch on that thread every time the thread comes down to link around the bobbin. So if you feel anything or see anything really rough or holes, you want to, or you'll probably just need to get a new bobbin case, and that is not hard. I would recommend taking your machine in so you get the right one, but that is replaceable. It's not hard, but that could be why some people, once you start breaking needles, like it always catches on that same part. Okay, so we're just identifying everything looks smooth. Now here's the trick for putting the bobbin case back in. So this little point, I kind of feel like this is the top part. See how it's kind of, it has a different shape? That's going to go straight towards the back. Now, once I set it in here, the other thing that we're looking at is right here. I sometimes feel like this is almost like a little heel, and look, there's a little spring right here up on this side. And what's going to happen is when this bobbin case is placed correctly back, you will find that it sits on this side and just kind of bounces against that spring. Have you ever noticed that your bobbin case is always like a little bit wiggly? Well, that is true. But the reason I need you to identify this place is because I have often found that people can get this back in twisted. So it's not totally straight as I showed you. And of course that little kind of heel part is not up against that spring. And then you should also just kind of make sure it's kind of sitting level. So it's not kind of not all the way down flat. There's kind of a, you can kind of see it, that little groove in there. So just make sure everything's looking good. I can see that's bouncing up against the spring. And now I'm going to show you how to put the plate back in place. So you can kind of see there's this little part that sticks out. That's going to kind of come in. I need to get it underneath this area. So you can kind of come in from the side. I'm scooping it down underneath the bed of the machine, and I'm sitting it kind of in front of the free arm. That was key. I was trying to get this off earlier, but I had, you know, the piece on, and that's why I couldn't take it off because I had to remove that. So it kind of sits in front. Right now I can kind of feel that, and then what we're going to do is just kind of push it, and it should stay nice and flat. I can feel it's all lined up with the machine. I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in, give them a nice little snug tightness. I'm going to put my foot back on. If I haven't changed my needle, I'm going to peek at my next project, put the right needle in, and also just, you know, make sure that when you go to sew, you could even turn the first couple stitches by hand and just make sure that the needle isn't hitting anything, everything got realigned. But if anything just doesn't feel right or it feels like you're hitting something, take this plate off. So remember, I just kind of pulled this way and then kind of untucked from the side, and then I can peek inside. What I'm looking for is, did this bobbin case get out of position? Put it back into position and then come back in, clean if you haven't done that for a while, rethread, start with a new needle, and see if that fixes any hiccups that you've been having. If the screws don't want to kind of align, just make sure that everything is lined up. I felt like one of them wasn't going in straight, and then I pushed a little bit and it clicked a little bit further, and now I can feel my screws are going in without any force needed. They're going right down where they should be, and then I'm just going to use the screwdriver to give them a nice snug finish. So in conclusion, we're going to clean out down below anytime we have any problems with the machine, but anywhere between 3 to 5 bobbins of sewing use, and then take your machine and your embroidery unit into a local sewing machine service center for an annual cleaning. Trust me, it's worth it, and things are going to just work smoothly as you continue using this machine. So I hope you'll take a look at all of our other video tutorials that are nice and short and sweet. Every topic is covered from the sewing side to the embroidery side, and don't forget to click on the like button. That is proper YouTube etiquette for when you watch a free video, to click the like button and say thank you to the person who has made that for you. And if you have any comments, put those down below. And remember, cleaning is going to make for a happy sewing experience.